I got Craig Hansen from BashCoder on the show tonight, fresh off of our trip to Tinley. We're going to catch up about Tinley. We'll catch up about how he's translated skills and knowledge that he gained in his career and leading up to this point, and how he applies those in ball pythons. If you've seen his content before, you probably know I'm talking about sound and video engineering, as well as some other production stuff. I've been thinking about this weekend. I got some questions that I need answers to. Just who was stalking who? What's going on, everybody? Just home from Tinley, and I hope that if you went, you had a safe trip home. They're okay, but I actually know some people that didn't have a safe trip home. They probably don't want me announcing that sort of thing. They are okay, but the deer is not. We'll put it that way. So anyway, I'm sure in due time people will hear about that. Those of y'all that didn't make it, I understand that most, if not like a large majority, that probably is redundant. That's what most means, a large majority. I understand that the overwhelming majority of people in our industry and hobby did not go to Tinley, so we'll do our best to fill it in. If you get a chance to go, I do highly recommend it. It's a great time. It's a great chance to meet people, and heroes is a weird word, but for lack of a better word, to cut right to the chase, it's a great chance to get to meet some heroes and people that inspired you, and the camaraderie, the hangout, the business you can do, the money you can spend. All of that is very cool. So Craig and I, by some lucky circumstances and alignment of various stars and hotel bookings, etc., we ended up spending a lot of time together this weekend. So we're going to catch up with that. Craig will be on in just a few minutes. I got a couple announcements, and we'll get right to it. I want to say thank you all for being here. It is always a challenge to... It's not always a challenge, but it's always interesting and a little different adventure every week. There's 52 weeks, 52 Tuesdays in a year. And if you guys know me, I'm pretty stubborn about not missing. I'm not going to just take a night off. So it's always fun getting to meet somebody new. And I've seen Craig around a lot, as we all have. He's made a wonderful splash and a very positive splash. I like Craig being in the industry. But we hadn't spent a whole lot of time together. We met briefly before. So I'm excited to have him on, and I'm excited that we got it lined up, and then getting a chance to hang out this weekend really, really built up to that as well. So I promise you, we got a great show tonight. Craig is a great guest, so make sure that you stick around for that. Massive thanks to everybody that came out at Tinley. I'll dive in really deep on some of my own analytics and results and business on Thursday morning with Joe, Proper Cup of Joe. But I will tell you, it was my best Tinley that I've ever had. And I think I've been pretty open about this, but I find Tinley and that caliber show very challenging to do well at, for lack of a better word. I do well with business relationships. I do well with keeping up with the advertisers. I do well with learning and meeting people. But generally, I pay a whole lot of money to do that. And this time was actually pretty good. I sold some animals. I more than covered costs. I was able to bring some money home in the pocket, which is good as well. So I want to say thanks to everybody that came out, supported. Some of it probably has to do with me progressing and hatching better and better things, which make it a little bit easier to be competitive and relevant and all of those good words. But I still want to be thankful. So I appreciate it. And even if you didn't buy anything, thanks for coming by. The people that I get to meet, the people that I get to see over and over, it was really great. We'll ask Craig what he was hearing, but I was hearing much similar to my experience I just shared. I know that the door was a little slower than it has been in the past, but it felt like the people that were there were spending. I did one of those upspeak things where I make a statement, but it sounded like a question. That's what I've heard. That's what my feeling is, that it felt like people that were there were spending. And I'm trying to figure out what that means, industry, like how's the market doing wise. So, I mean, I guess if more people are spending, that inherently means it's good. So like I say, less people at the door, I think, but more spending. And the auction felt like it was, a little higher number, a little more rambunctious and participatory than in the past 2 times I've been. So there's my overview. I'll dig in a little more on my own results, and then Craig and I will talk as well tonight. So stick around with that. You could drop your own comments if you went, or if you didn't go, what you've been hearing in the chat as well. So again, thanks everybody in the chat for being here. This train doesn't stop for me, man. Saturday, I will be vending in La Crosse, Wisconsin at the Scaled Up Expos show in La Crosse, Wisconsin. That's on Saturday. On Sunday in Hastings, Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis. And that is the Snake Discovery Show with Emily and Ed from Snake Discovery. They're wonderful people. If you ever get a chance to just have a conversation with them, which is hard to do because everybody wants to have a conversation with them, but when you get the chance to, it's really great. If you're in the region and haven't checked out one of their shows, you should. Very nice shows. They're done well. And as a vendor, I actually really genuinely appreciate them. They've become a really nice piece of the business model here locally for me. So Saturday, La Crosse, Sunday, Hastings. I'll see you there. Next weekend, believe it or not, this is a weird sentence. If you'd asked me a year ago or a year and a half ago, if I ever thought I would be uttering this sentence, I would have said not a chance. But next weekend, I will be vending in, so there's this coming weekend and there's the following weekend. That's what I'm calling next weekend. The following weekend, I drive to Fargo, North Dakota. I'll be vending in Fargo. And then the very first weekend of November, I'll be vending in Des Moines, Iowa at the Cold-Blooded Expo show. And then I'm done for a little bit. I'm going to relax and sit on my butt for about a week and a half. And then I'll get back to it. So hope to see you somewhere. As always, properroyals.com is up to date with my available inventory. And I got new hatchlings coming soon. The incubator still has eggs in it. And I'm still expecting at least one more clutch to be laid before that will hatch within this year. So stick around on that too. Lot of good things this weekend. I was really sometimes hardship brings out the best in people, and the community was really amazing. I got to give a really special thank you to Shane Kelly and Jessica Hare. And I don't know who did the work. I don't know who drove the bus. I don't know any of it. And I'm sure that they don't care to have it divided up or that stuff declared anyway. But Jessica and Shane headed up the auction to benefit Jeremy and Jeannie Bod. Those two have been very amazing to me. Early mentors of mine. They've become very close friends. And people that have helped me and supported me along the way and really got my show up off the ground as well. Gave me great content, early filming of their facility on my YouTube channel. And always a reliable, trusted resource for fun and smile and a laugh as well. Jessica and Shane, along with all of you that participated, all of the people that donated items and purchased items, over $12,000 will go back to the Bods from the community that they've done so much for. And I know there's a lot of people that need help and that can use help. So on the one hand, I don't want to ignore them, but on the other hand, I have to say what an amazing job that we did as a community, that was done as a community for Jeremy and Jeannie. If you would like to donate, there is still a GoFundMe. I will find the link, or if somebody has it and you can post it, please do that. Because I still personally, myself, I still need to donate, and I still need to pitch in on that. Again, Jeremy and Jeannie have been just amazing for me. So my best to the Bods, but also thank you to Jessica and Shane. Again, the auction at Tinley was fantastic. Over 100 grand raised for US ARC. And then something new that has come up in the past year. It's an unfortunate situation that that's an understatement, that has led to the evolution of this. But I think everybody knows, and if you don't, then I'm sorry, but Dr. Tom Harbin passed away in an accident while scuba diving. and I don't want to speak any more on it because I don't know any more details on it. But terribly unexpected, tragic loss for the Harbin family as well as our community. Those of y'all that don't know, Tom Harbin was a veterinary doctor, and he loved the animals. He loved teaching about the animals. And I never met the gentleman in person, but I've heard nothing but that he spread amazing joy throughout the community. And since that time, what has been set up through the University of Auburn is an endowed scholarship that will, I get chills talking about this, that will exist perpetually. Those of you that aren't familiar, and I might misspeak here too, so anybody who is an expert, you can even clarify for me. But essentially the idea is that a lump of money is set up and set aside, and it's designated just for scholarships, and that money is invested. And the interest, or not the interest, the dividends from those investments, that's what's distributed out to however the scholarship money will be distributed, but to future veterinarians and students going to Auburn University to study veterinary medicine. And what happens is, when it's done right and managed right, that auction will live in perpetuity. It's been named for him. It's on the Auburn University website. In the description is a link. You can donate anytime. It doesn't have to be live. It doesn't have to be right now. It's right down in the description. And that link will be there as long as I have this show, and I will continue to put that in the description. I think it's a wonderful, enduring legacy. I believe that education is of the utmost importance. Those of y'all that don't know, I have a degree in history and secondary education from the University of Florida. And I could only be so proud to think that one day maybe there would be a scholarship in my memory when my time comes in that way. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that whether it's $1, $5, $500, or $5,000, if you donate, it will, that your money will endure and serve as a great memory and testament to Dr. Tom Harbin, and represent our industry pretty well, I think. So there you go. Thanks for hearing me out on that. Enough of me on my soapbox. I want to say thanks to everybody being here. I suppose another testament to somebody that is, I can report as well and alive, is Craig. He's in the green room. I'm looking at him right now. There's 33 of you that have sat through me yapping along. Why don't we bring Craig Hansen from BashCoder? Please welcome him for the very first time to the properroyals stage. Craig, how are you, man?
Hey, man. Great to see you. Doing great.
How was your trip home, man?
Uneventful, just the way I like it.
Yeah, no kidding, right? We packed in the events, man. Part of what we'll talk about, but you just through equipment and presentation, man, I got to tell you, in person versus video, you're a bad man. You're looking good, is what I'm trying to say here.
This is why I choose Canon cameras, because I am quite melanistically challenged individual, and Canon color science makes me look like I have a tan.
Okay. All right. I want to learn more about that. Speaking of melanistically challenged, I noticed the last name Hansen. We got a handful of Hansens up here in Minnesota. I don't know if you're aware or not, but you could fit the bill. You got any roots up here in this area?
I absolutely do. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Yeah.
Yeah. I was born in a little town called Dodge Center, Minnesota.
No way. I was totally spitballing that on the Hansen, on the Scandinavian tie. Okay.
No, this is like it is the homeland for Norwegian Americans. And so, I absolutely have roots up there, and I love to go fishing there. Love to fish for, walleye and stuff up in Leech Lake and Black Duck Lake and stuff like that. I love Minnesota.
Do you get back here often? Do you still have family and roots here?
I used to. They've all passed. I think most of my family that was up in Minnesota.
Gotcha.
But I used to.
Well, if you make it back, I would do a little fishing. I'm not familiar with Leech Lake, but other than swimming in it, that sounds lovely. I sort of Beach Lake.
Yeah.
Of any other name, they could like Loon, Starlight, whatever, Blue Sky. I don't know. But no,
Right.
I would love to go. I went, I actually got to go ice fishing for the first time for a Florida boy. That was new. I haven't done the thing where you drive the truck across the frozen lake with your, ice hut. I didn't
Right.
do that, but
Right.
I've heard such things.
That takes a certain amount of skill, I think, to know when the ice is just right to drive on. And no, I don't have that.
I'm pretty sure I'm not. Yeah, I'll just walk. I'll see you guys there. And if I don't, then it's been good to know you because I didn't. Yeah. Anyway. Well, excellent, man. How was Tinley for you? What was your overall kind of macro impression, and how many you've been? I know we've been to Tinley before. We've met there before. But how many have you been to, and what kind of give us your impression of it this weekend?
It was my second Tinley. The first was 2023. And I thought the traffic was down, like you mentioned. I think the foot traffic was kind of soft. And then when I asked different vendors how they were doing, I either got up or down. I either got people that were doing great, and I got people that were very disappointed. So didn't quite know what to make of that, other than the fact that the people were there seemed to be spending, but there were a lot fewer of them.
Yeah. Interesting. Here's what I found is that every bit of feedback seems to be anecdotal, and generally it's either the worst day or the best day that people have had. Or they don't want to tell you anything, and they're like, yeah, it's fine, and that just means they don't want to talk generally.
Yep.
So, yeah, I do find that, but I did, I felt like I heard more people saying, that the people that were there were spending, but the door seemed to be down. Would seem to be. Roger says pet crowd versus breeding crowd, I would assume. Certainly for my table, I mean, I produce a certain caliber of animal right now, and it is the pet crowd. I heard some pretty stunning numbers from some big dogs. They were, it was private conversation, so I'll leave it that way. But I heard some numbers that how do I put it? Encourage my goals to continue to dream big. Let's put it that way. So
love it.
Yeah. So I would say that there were people there. I did hear one person had a $12,000 sale on one animal. So they were out there. I guess not everybody can have one of those customers, but one day, one day.
Hashtag goals.
Well, and I think I do genuinely look at it as like a goal rather than jealousy or, they get that and I don't. The people I did talk to that had those numbers, they've been at it for 25 years. I bet in 25 years, I'll be doing more than that, or I'll already be done and somebody else can be doing it, but they are people that have put in the time. So I that's sort of how that goes.
For me, it was really, I went there sort of on a vision quest, really. I've been feeling a little bit uninspired lately as to my pairings, what my pairings are going to be for this year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so I went there really feeling like I need to refresh, other than our fun little back and forth. I didn't really make any content. And I really went there to just focus and say, before I went, I sort of took stock in my knowledge of morphs. I identified some gaps, and I went there to try to understand more about those, a handful of genes. And I bought some animals and came home with some things that helped fill up my collection a little bit. But I did get a lot of vision, and I did have a lot of Friday's the best day to go if you haven't gone before. Get the VIP pass and go on Friday, because vendors are setting up. They've got time that you don't have 100 people around you, and you get to have meaningful conversations, and you get to go deeper with the breeders than you can on like a Saturday.
Yeah, it's it's almost impossible to make the meaningful connections on Saturday. Sunday's a little slower, and Friday is the optimum one, because Sunday we're all a little bit burnt out and toasted, but Friday everybody's optimistic, excited to chat. You know, they're jumping in, and you do beat that crowd, and you do get to see like the behind the scenes. You know, it's like hanging out with the roadies of the band before the show. You know, it's pretty cool that way. Well, so let's go back. What were some aha moments on a gene or a couple genes, or what excited you that maybe you weren't sure if you were excited about before then?
Well, I kind of diagnosed myself as having kind of a clown problem.
Okay.
My clown game is weak. My pied game is too strong. My clown game is kind of weak. And so I identified some, and I did some of this before Daytona, because I picked up a couple in Daytona too, but I've really decided to kind of invest in Hurricane and Wookie and some of those combos, especially with Black Pastel. I had just gotten into what's the gene? Scrambler before going to this.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed looking at more of Chris Hernan's stuff.
Yeah. Oh, what
You know?
I didn't even get by us. That's the one problem with Tinley, is I just can't get everywhere that I want to go to. I didn't spend any time at Hernan's table, and I don't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No.
But I got excited. Like, I always try and break down like describing things. I did this with wine. You had to have sort of this like way of being able to describe things that almost are in, like, how do you describe taste? Well, it's a really hard thing to do. Or how do you describe music? It's a really hard thing to do, but it can be that way with ball pythons. So I like the construct of color, contrast, and pattern. And man, Hernan stuff takes the cake on colors. I mean, it's incredible. And I haven't had a chance to see it in person. The color and the contrast, man, is really, really cool.
I love it. And it's codom heavy, and it doesn't rely on a lot of multiple recessives to be great. Now, I think what we're going to see is a lot of people working multiple recessives into Scrambler and getting some really amazing stuff.
Yeah, it's seeing what happens with it. It's still super early with Scrambler. I know it's been out there a little bit, and Chris has done amazing stuff, and a few other people have too, as Jeremy Bod for that matter. But as far as it being like a long-term, here's where I'm at, evolve it, I don't think there's been very much done with it outside of what Chris has done in that path with it. I think, no offense to anybody if they've crushed it as well.
I think you're right. And just the magic he's come up with, putting Barnhart Black Pastel, which tends to bring out oranges, and his super high OD line of OD, and Calico.
Yeah.
And putting all that together, it's like, holy crap.
What a good like testament to like, when you said Black Pastel, I was thinking to myself, like, is there a more enduring gene that people really like adore? I mean, and she's probably more enduring, but I don't think people rave about it. You don't hear people like, holy cow, look at that Enchi. Like, they're just like, yeah, there's some Enchi in there. Whereas with Black Pastel, or, there's debates of Barnhart, there's the other lines. I have a hypo girl that was on my table that I swear was one of the best looking snakes that, certainly on my table, but it was just Black Pastel hypo. The thing was amazing.
Yeah. And to be able to work great in something like lavender, and also work great with something like, Stranger.
Yeah, the super dark genes and the light genes.
Yeah, it's just so versatile. I have Black Pastel in a DG hypo female, and I just absolutely love it. So yeah, I've been pursuing that on the clown side with Hurricane and Wookie. Don't have any Stranger yet, and I really do want to get there with Stranger and the Clowns. But I think what I'm probably going to do is do that more from the male side. This time I'm getting females, and I decided to put Hurricane and Wookie into the females and just grow them up.
Now, did you
uh,
do visual or hets on the clown part?
So my first Wookiee I got, I ended up with a het, and then everything else I've been going visuals.
Yep. Okay. I mean, and obviously there's no necessarily right answer. I'm always curious to hear people's take on that. So, what were some genes that maybe you don't have, aren't invested in, but when you just saw them, you went, "Oh, I get that now. I see it." Okay. Like sometimes, like I hear people talking about stuff, or we always hear the cliche, the pictures just don't do it justice, and then you see it in person, and you're like, oh, that's pretty good, I gotta say.
I really like, Bomb Project's KG's line of LC. It's a dark enhancer
And
kind
I'm
of.
sorry, I got to take it all the way back. What's LC? If I don't know what it is, somebody else doesn't in the audience.
So it stands for Lutz something. It's two people's names, and I'm sorry I don't know
Oh, okay, all right.
the
Sorry.
names.
Okay.
And but yeah, I really like what it does, and I almost pulled the trigger on some LC animals. It's a codom, and its darks are really dark. It just makes like a jet black kind of pattern.
Now, is that the same? Wasn't he working something he was calling Gorilla? Is that the same thing or not? That's totally
Different than
different.
Gorilla.
Different.
Totally
Okay.
different
All
from
right.
Gorilla. Yep. I continue to like what I see being done with Ultramel. I thought seeing Straight Fire, Levance, he always does something a little different. He takes it over here all the time. So he's putting Stranger in Ultramel Clown and stuff, and that is just, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and a lot of people go lighter with Ultramel, and so that was really cool. I saw some really beautiful, expensive sunset stuff. I'm on the fence. I can't really pull the trigger on sunset. But I can see for the people that are into it what they're all about now, and just being able to have some of the best sunset breeders in the world there with their best stock was really helpful for me to really understand the gene more.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm kind of with you. I think the jury's still out on the longevity of sunset. Obviously, there's the quote problem. I don't think it's a problem. We don't want to start a sunset debate tonight. We got enough on the agenda without that.
Yeah.
But I think that there's opportunity to improve, just like we would want to improve how clowns have aged, how bananas have aged, how pieds age. We find things that add to them. So I don't think it's an unsolvable challenge, and I think that they'll get better, better and better. And like you say, the breeders of sunsets were there. I mean, just the who's who,
Yep.
And so that was really cool. I got to say, I appreciate you too. I think you got Levance to say my name in your little reel where you were,
I did.
that was great. I never know if I didn't even think he would have a clue who I was. That's great, man.
Yeah, everyone enjoyed doing the gag reels. It was fun.
We had it. That was a good time on that. Okay, so switch from the animals for a moment. What about the people? Of course, aside from myself here, who did you get to connect with, or any new people that you met, or again, like aha moments where there was just some cool moment or anything?
I think my favorite interaction was with Devin and Teresa from Prague Morphs. They came all the way from, Czech Republic, probably 30 hours of flight or something crazy,
Yeah.
and they're on a big tour of all the big breeders in the US right now. And before they were on a big tour of Europe, and, my goodness, it's a whirlwind. But I really love what they're doing in Czech Republic. And, he's got, I don't know, 600 or 700 animals, and at least it might be more. But he's made just amazing choices. He's got relationships. The thing that kills me is that in such a small amount of time, he has made deep relationships with all the OGs, especially in Europe. And so just to get a half an hour of him him and Teresa just having coffee and sitting down and talking was just delightful. Got to meet DJ Van Wyck from Reptiles for Centuries.
What an impressive dude, huh?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He's so impressive. And again, especially for his age, just to have accomplished what he's accomplished. And
right.
And to and so yeah, I really appreciated all those people that traveled a long distance and were willing to talk. That was really great.
Yeah, I got to meet and I apologize. You're going to have to help me again. I did not catch their names from Progmorphs. They were at the table and I saw their shirts, and I always say it's weird. And I know that we all go through this. We get to know a brand or a brand name or a logo or an Instagram handle, and we don't necessarily know the people whatsoever, which is also why I like doing my show, because I get to meet the people and we get to dig in a little more than, blaring some, hot take in 48 characters on Instagram. So I'd seen Progmorphs a lot, and clearly they're doing amazing stuff. I had no idea who they were or anything. And they came by the table, said hello. And I looked at the shirt. I said, "You from Progmorphs?" They said, "Yeah, that's us." I said, "Man, holy cow, what are you doing here?" And great stuff. And we hung out for a good little bit. Like Chris said, they spent some time at the table.
Nice.
And it was cool. And matter of fact, that Black Pastel Hypo girl, they asked me to take her out so that they could film her for content under the light, just Black Pastel Hypo. So
love it.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then agreed, DJ was a real just intriguing guy to meet, to learn. I like learning about the business. I mean, there's going to be cool animals everywhere. Somebody's always going to have a gene I don't have. They're going to, there's always going to be some like nifty, unattainable next thing that I'm just not. I mean, even Justin's got to go, man, there's something I don't have. Look at this amazing stuff going on, So there's always going to be something that I don't have. But so I like understanding the business or how people approach things. And I sat with DJ for probably 30, 40 minutes Friday night. Had to have been Friday night.
Awesome.
And, several beers in. This might have been preemptive prior to the soap throwing incident. And although I can't remember, actually, I don't know which night that was. I'm embarrassed to say that. Anyway, I didn't drive
a lot of drinking.
It was all Uber. It was Modelo's and Heineken's, just stuff that goes down real easy. And but yeah, we talked, just picked apart the South African market, how it works, how exporting works. The logistics of things that go from like some people I know. I used to dream about just vending at my local show. This guy's dreaming about how to get his snakes from South Africa to vendors in the United States or to pet owners in Tokyo or other breeders in Indonesia. And then you're like, holy cow, man. Like, wow. Okay. That's a guy I want to hang out with and get to know. So it was very cool. And he appears to just be genuinely nice. I don't know him beyond sitting and hanging out, but that was very, very cool.
When he's with you, he's really present with you.
Yeah.
He's 100% with you. Of course, same for Devin and Teresa. When they're with you, they're just like, a lot of times at these big shows, it's sort of like, hey, how's it going? Hey, yeah, good to see you.
Right.
And they're just as personable as you can be.
I don't know what this is. The sound that made Charlie was great. I don't know what that means. Okay, we will. Oh, the soap? What are you talking about? Anyway, if you guys haven't seen them, check mine or Craig's Instagram.
You got to start with yours because yours is part one.
There's a whole series of reels, and what ended up happening was to give the backstory. I usually would have done this on the introduction before you came on, but I figured we needed almost a Tarantino this thing, wait, well, you were doing this, Adam, I was doing this. So we connected a couple weeks ago just from actually a comment on Instagram. And I was like, hey, to get you on the show. And we decided to do it the week after Tinley for a variety of logistics reasons. So I get to Tinley And I said hello to, oh no, we saw you in the parking lot. Turned out you were staying in the same hotel. And then the next day at the show, Jennifer, Chris's wife, comes over and she says, I think Craig is in the room across the hall, but I'm not sure. I saw a guy just for a second turn right into a room wearing a BashCoder shirt. And I'm like, that's gotta be Craig.
Yep.
And I never saw you at the room, but I talked to you somewhere and you're like, yeah, I think that's my room number. And you were like, wait a minute. How do you know because I didn't give you any context. I was just like, are you room 211? And you're like, what? How should I answer this?
Yeah. Like I had a little, like there was a glitch in the matrix, like the black cat going by twice. It's like, how are things in 211? I'm like, oh, yeah, what?
Yeah, what?
I don't understand.
You're like, how weird is Adam? I need to answer this question right now for my safety and my sanity. So he acknowledged that it was his room. And then, that whatever evening that was that I got back, I was like, I got to film something. And I don't know why, but I decided that I would take a bar of soap, yell your name, and then, pummel across the hallway, pummel your door with a bar of soap. I am happy to say I was able to hit the door with the soap.
First time.
First time, nailed it. It was a big strike zone, but put it right down the middle. I did it well there.
And I think I did hear that. I think that was like at 1 a.m. or something like that.
It was pretty late. Yes.
It was at 1 a.m. and he's like, I think I just want to, he and I really should be friends. And then, hey, Craig. So then I wake up at like 7:30 and I see this reel and I'm dying.
Oh yeah. I posted it immediately too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see it at about 7 a.m. and then I'm looking terrible. My eyes are all bloodshot. I'm like, so I thought, let's really go with this because I look like I just woke up, So I put my CPAP mask on and everything and did that.
I think you glazed over that. The CPAP mask is like close up in full view there. I mean, I don't mean to, pick at a scab if that is one, but just so you know, that really tied the whole thing together.
Yeah, it's highway to the danger zone. It was definitely a Top Gun moment. One thing I've discovered in my life: chicks dig a CPAP.
If you slap some aviators on top of it, you would just be in a business, man. I don't know if you thought about sleeping in aviators, but it's really going to elevate the whole CPAP look.
Yeah. So anyway, that was fun. And then later it was just about getting a clip from you and getting other people clips to pretend that you were stalking me, and everyone was just loving it. Everyone had a lot of fun. And got Robin from REDLINE in on it.
Yeah, I can only imagine you explaining the storyline arc, trying to get all these people. They must have just been like, huh?
I didn't. I just said, hey, I would just say, hey, Adam and I are having a real war and I need your help. I'm going to ask you, where is he? And you go, I think he's over there. And that's all the setup I needed.
Yeah, I thought, I thought KG and Robin really were going to get the Academy's attention on their performance. Like they really did some method acting. They got into the backstory. Really just, bought in. I thought it was really good.
What's my motivation was the first thing he asked.
Right. Yeah. And then what nobody else saw. Now this is where I started having questions like, wait a minute, who's stalking who? Because I know what the story said, but audience, I set my alarm knowing I needed to get out of Chicago driving for 4:30 the following morning. I admit I was inconsiderate of my hotel neighbors. I kept the hotel cart loaded with my animals in my room so that all I had to do was roll out of bed, roll that cart out the door. I got 2 cups of coffee in the lobby. I did tip the lady because instead of buying them at the gas station, I just took extra out the door, and I got out of Dodge so that I could beat any kind of morning traffic. However, at around, 4:44, 4:47, I opened the door for the very first time, and who was standing there looking at me but Craig? And Craig says, top of the morning to you, Adam, from right outside my door. What sane, insane person other than somebody trying, you had a flight. You didn't have to drive or beat traffic, and your flight was like 4 hours later. What were you doing what were you doing outside my door at 4:42?
I just had heard something across the hall that sounded like a crazy pillow fight or something. You know,
That was happening in my
screaming.
dreams. It was an exciting pillow fight in my dreams. We won't delve into that, but I can't imagine I was, speaking that out loud.
No, I had to be up at 4 because I had a flight at 7 or something like that, and I wanted to get there a couple hours in advance. So it was the perfect way to end the weekend because we kept bumping into each other in funny ways.
I laughed.
It was a perfect end.
Oh man, I was dying laughing immediately when I said, "Oh man, I couldn't have drawn this up." Nor would I have ever asked somebody to be like, "Hey, 4:40, just meet me in the hall. We'll do a little reel to head out of here." Like you would have been like, "You're insane, Adam. We're gonna put pause on this show." So it was great weekend. Excuse me. So all right, final Tinley takeaway, Craig. What do you think? What's your lasting impression?
Every time I go there, or to a big show, I kind of go in with a little bit of trepidation. Like I'm worried about what I'm going to see sometimes. Like I'm worried that I'm going to feel discouraged. Like there's no way I can make this. Like I worry that when I go to see the best of the best, that I'm just going to leave feeling like I want to quit.
Yeah.
And
right back to day one imposter syndrome, huh?
Exactly. And so, but I didn't feel that way. I felt very encouraged. And I think the more of these things you go to and the more your collection sort of progresses and the more your vision sort of broadens and kind of the more 3D you're able to think over time as you do this, the fewer tables you're actually interested in, to be honest, and right. I mean, like that you really start to get to a place where you're wanting to see the best of the best and you're really wanting to see it and rather than afraid to see it.
Yeah, I'm with you on most of it because I feel that way vending. Like like what in the world, like that question that Chris Eaton always asks, why in the world would somebody buy a snake from you and not, everyone else in the room? Some shows I can answer that question by looking around the room and saying, these are it. At Tinley, I don't have that. I don't have that. There's not that. Tinley's a magical place where everybody is well above average. So you're like, yeah. So I feel that there. On the other hand, I've gotten pretty good at compartmentalizing, going, I'm just me. I just do what I do. I'm putting my best foot forward. And I've always found a reason and a benefit to Tinley outside of the snakes themselves. So I actually look forward to Tinley for the people way more than the animals. And I'm usually tied to the table. And I have this weird kind of dichotomy socially, in a small setting, in intimate's a weird word, but a close conversation like we're having, I'm totally comfortable. I can do this for hours. In a big sea of not knowing what's coming my way, who I'm going to run into, what conversations, who's firing what. I just feel like I want to be, standing by the punch bowl at the high school dance, man, because I am not out on the floor, busting moves. So I really, it's a strange mix of really being anxious and really craving closer, tighter conversations. So all that's a rambling way of me saying I look less at the animals and I don't stroll about the room a whole lot. I do like to catch up with people that I either want to meet, learn from, respect, have become friends with, and get those moments where we can just, even if it's just for 2-3 minutes, if we could just talk uninterrupted and catch up as old friends, or new acquaintances, or people that have been on the show that I haven't had a chance to meet in person or say thanks to. So I actually don't see as many animals as probably most people go to see. And I didn't, again, I felt bad. Like I didn't, I guess I knew Chris Hernan was, I didn't make it by Chris's table. I would have loved to see those animals. I didn't get a chance to. So anyhow, that's kind of the show experience for me. I have not been to Tinley as a spectator. I've only ever been there working. So
love it.
Yeah.
Well, you were really inspirational to me in 2023 for a couple of reasons. First, it seemed I got the vibe that you did everything you possibly could to vend at Tinley, and REDLINE gave you a table. You were even outside. I mean, when people were waiting to get in and they could still see your table. Like, yeah. I'm like, this guy wants it. This guy wants it. I was in the lobby.
Bad. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I went up to talk to you, and I was thinking about starting to do content, but I was concerned. I have like some neurological things. I have halting speech sometimes. I stutter sometimes really bad, and I don't know when it's going to happen. And I said, Adam, you've been doing this a long time. You've been doing content. You know, you had so many episodes under your belt, and I was like, should I do this? And I shared my concerns, and you said, well, that's you. That's just you, and be you. And you said the best thing you can be is yourself, and you absolutely need to make content. And you were the one. I think, honestly, without you giving me that insight, I probably wouldn't have started making reels.
Well, I had no idea. That's the first time hearing that. That's just a massive compliment. Thank you. That catches me off guard because I still I have this little bubble. I come into my little basement and I turn on my little light, and, I got an okay camera because Steven told me which one to buy, and I do the show, and you never know how it connects or doesn't connect, or, I paint all these stories of people just laughing at me because I'm sitting in a basement in Minnesota with a little strategically placed hatchling rack behind me, is some weird flex. And, right. Like I didn't put it there by accident. Oh, that'll be good. There, let's put it there. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And the irony is you're so well known for the quality and the caliber of your content. That's where you've made your splash. Incredible irony that I'm grinding along, piecing it together, and that was the thing. Thank you for sharing that. That really, I didn't see that coming. Thank you, man.
Thank you. You bet, man.
Yeah. I was trying to segue into a little bit of a strategic break because we promised people we'd talk about some career skills and how you apply those. And I teased it a little bit of sound engineering, production, as well as some web development. But before we jump into that, let's pay some bills and give a little bit of thanks, as I like to do. And I'm going to start in a little bit of a different order tonight. Speaking of thanks, if you go all the way right next to my logo, right above Craig's head, there's a logo for B and S Reptilia. That's Chris Shelley. Talk about people that have inspired and helped and just been humble go-getters and hard workers. Chris is that for me. Chris is one of the, I think he was the very, very first sponsor of properroyals. And I'm proud to say that we're still here. Since then, that business relationship has grown to, we've ended Tinley together. That's his spot as much as it is mine. And I've learned a lot from him, he and his family, and he's just been a great help and inspiration. And I couldn't have, when I set out on this, I really just thought that this would be a marketing vehicle for trying to sell my snakes. It's turned into a whole sort of business endeavor. And anyhow, what I'm saying is take care of Chris if you get a chance. I'll tell you the actual spiel now. Chris has ball pythons, blood pythons, locality boas, pituophis, pine snakes, bull snakes. And he did vend those and did have the right permits at Tinley for those. And they'll be safely back in his possession on Thursday, because until then, they're sitting right back there ready to get shipped back to him. And he's also the Pennsylvania distributor for the chipper, if he can help you on any of those things. And I could just personally vouch that he's a good guy and takes care of his animals in a way with somebody that I would like to be associated with and I'm fortunate enough to do business with. So thanks very much, Chris. Massive thanks to you and Jennifer. I had a great weekend. So thanks very much. REDLINE Shipping. They've been in the news a lot lately. They are shippers. They've been shippers for a long time. Shipping is what they do. And I think it could be argued that Robin invented the shipping model with FedEx. You can insure your animals for their value. You could call them for customer service to find out where your animal's at. They could get in touch with FedEx directly versus just a tracking number. And they have the reptile expertise with the shipping industry history. They also create and import a lot of tools that you need for shipping, whether it be the boxes, the packaging, heat packs, phase packs that can cool or heat. All of those things go in with the REDLINE experience. I think you should check them out. And I think you should use the promo code PROPER5. Get yourself $5 off of your next shipping label. Huge thanks to REDLINE Shipping. Shedtesting.com is Charlie at shedtesting.com, formerly Gray Rider Reptiles. I'm going to veer off from my usual spiel this evening with shedtesting.com. A couple people, this has come up, even still, I can't believe it. With all of my efforts, a couple people said, I didn't know he was developing, creating, researching his own tests. I thought he just sort of, just kind of had this little side project. No. He's innovating. He's developing tests. He's working with other geneticists around the world, combining their efforts in Canada and Europe so that they can offer collaboratively the largest collection of available shed tests that they possibly can. And Charlie is the guy that does the testing. He's the one that you speak to for customer service. You don't have to go through any other third party. You send Charlie your shed. He sends you your result at a fair price and very fast, if I might add as well. So I think you should check it out. It's in the name, shedtesting.com. Go check it out. Use the promo code at checkout, proper15. You're going to get 15% off of any 2 orders. An order can be many shed tests, as many individual shed tests as you want. You just have to order them all at the same time, but you will get 15% off. Argen Reptiles is Robbie in Greer, South Carolina. And I'm sorry to look at my phone while I cut this promo, but I got the specific updates on his hatchlings that he has currently available. Robbie is working with some high-end projects, singles, doubles, triples, and quads, and hets and visuals. Let me see right here. I know that, here we go. How about DG Krypton Pied ingredients? Zebra Clown and Zebra DG project animals. How about that? That should get your attention. You could go to argenreptiles.com, and if you sign up for his email list, doesn't cost you anything. He's not going to spam you. The email list, you get first dibs on the animals, and he just gives you updates on the email. It's really kind of like a Patreon that you don't have to pay for. You're getting perks just to sign up for the email list. So check him out. An excellent person. And I have done business with Robbie well before we were engaged in this advertising business arrangement as well. So happy to have Robbie on board and to support him as well. Danny and Renee Rocha are out in Chino, California, and they work also similarly nice, high quality projects. I know that their hatchling season is just now starting. I just got, what did I get? I got a super blackhead ultramel from them. I used to say a 1.3 of ultramel pied project stuff, but I got a little bit more recently. I got a visual ultramel pied male from them that will be put to use. So if you're into ultramel project with the dark genes, that's definitely worth checking them out. But they work a variety of projects. Excellent people out on the West Coast. I cannot wait. In 2025, I'm going to go to one of the California shows, and I'm purposely going to go so that I get to meet Portuguese pythons, Danny and Renee. Last but not least tonight is Trevor in Aurora, Colorado. That's Ball Labs, another excellent person. And I take a lot of pride that the people that I work with, I have no problem vouching for their character. And Trevor is one of those kinds of guys. Unlike the rest of us that say that we claim that we have focus in our projects, Trevor is very proud to just work with anything and everything that he can. Let me give you a little laundry list here. Puzzle, Ultramel, Clown, VPI, Xanthic, Tri-Stripe, Monsoon, Zebra, Sunset. And I know that Trevor also enjoys working with genes that maybe people have forgotten, but haven't tried to incorporate into some of the newer projects and maybe can revive some of those genes. So he enjoys experimenting. He's a guy doing things the right way. He is licensed to breed and sell and inspected, to breed and sell rodents in Colorado, which technically is the law. He's one of the very few people that have those licenses. So, he's doing things the right way, and I'm proud to be associated with Trevor. Guys, thanks for sticking around. There's 45 of you that stuck through my promo tonight. So thank you very, very much. Those advertisers do wonders for me to be able to continue to do this and to continue to work with people like Craig tonight from BashCoder. Craig, I need to know what is BashCoder? What is this? Where did this come from? And what do we need to know about it?
Well, I actually am a BashCoder, so it's a little on the nose. There is a programming language called Bash, and I can write in it. It's not my primary language, but I just love the word. And it was really an old gamer tag. I used to be a pretty active gamer, and BashCoder was always my gamer tag. And then I took it into music and other things. And, there's a lot of things that it relates to, but ultimately it's just sort of, I couldn't think of anything else, and I always use it for everything. So
that's cool. Have you ever found it to be either a challenge or a conflict in the ball python world from a branding or marketing standpoint?
No, I think that, I think that your brand needs to be unique, needs to be memorable. And it needs to have some sort of impact. And for some reason, people just don't seem to have a problem remembering it or using it. And I could have gone the DNA way with it and tried to explain it visually. Like now I use BashCoder to mean I'm mixing DNA codes together or something that. But I didn't feel the need to do that with the branding.
I think it's a good exercise for people that maybe are either not confident in what they're doing, or I'm going to tell it because my story that I have, there was a name before properroyals. I'll tell you the story in just a minute.
Right.
And it had music roots, just like you're saying not just like, but you're saying yours had, in a certain community, you had this identity and it just sort of translated across. So it's a little bit of a funny story. And I don't know that I've told the story before, but this old handle does exist if you look around for it. So on guitar forums, I had this handle and I had to go all the way back. So in my career, I'm one of the things that I am is a certified sommelier by the Court of Master Sommeliers. And I really like wine. I'm into wine. And my favorite guitarist, or at least one of my favorite guitarists, Keith Richards, he left the Stones for a time and worked on a side project, or the Stones hit pause or whatever. And he had a band called the Expensive Winos, which I always thought was the best name ever and was totally.
I know this band.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. They're fantastic too, guys. If you get a chance to check them out, it's just it's even a raw or edgier almost version of the Stones. I mean, they do some Stones songs that Keith wrote and all that. But anyway, Expensive Winos, go check them out if you want. So my handle in the guitar forums was a play on my love for Keith Richards. And my training I got bells everywhere. Sorry, guys. My own training as a sommelier. So my handle was Expensive Wino, was my handle. And Morph Market, I think still has, but certainly used to have a community forum. And when I first started, that's what the handle was Expensive Wino. And I would, go there and learn about ball pythons and study things and ask silly questions and all that. And this part of the story I've told a lot. My wife got a little bit concerned about my spending on ball pythons, and I explained to her that I was going to sell these things and they would at least pay for themselves. And there was probably this bright future that I could, make $1 million. And she said, "Oh, you're going to sell who are you going to sell these things to? What brand do you have? What are you talking about?" And I was like, okay, I got to get serious on this. And then I really, all joking aside, really went through the exercise of, how do I represent myself? And how I represent myself is how I'm going to invite people to consider me, that they're going to take me seriously or not take me seriously, largely based on how I present myself. And I said to myself, nobody's going to take me seriously if I call myself Expensive Wino. And so Expensive Wino got put to bed. And that was the similar story of yours. But yours is unique enough and doesn't have there's a bit of a negative connotation, which if you're playing loud, gritty rock and roll music, that's fine. If you're trying to be taken seriously as a reliable breeder, maybe you don't want to be, known that way. At least for me, some people do stand out just fine that way. But anyway, there's the branding exercise.
Love it.
So just out of my own nerdy curiosity, what platforms, what arena is Bash used for programming coding in?
It's a Linux shell scripting language. So Unix and Linux is the thing. Also, speaking of music, there was a band that I was friends with back in Nashville called Bash and the Code, and that helped too.
Oh, wow. There you go. Okay.
So people who know that band get the reference. So it's a little bit like Expensive Winos.
Yeah. If you know kind of thing. That was the other thing. Yeah. Like I could find people that did recognize Expensive Wino. We hit it off immediately because like it's kind of a couple layers in. Like I didn't call myself like the Dirty Rolling Stones. I went with, you got to know a little bit more to catch Expensive Wino. So, all right, cool. So there's BashCoder. We'll fast forward through some of the origin stuff, but we had coffee one morning and you said, we got to talk music. And I was like, all right. And then you told me you went to Berklee School of Music. And those of you that don't know, that is that's Harvard, Yale, whatever top tier. It's literally the top tier. What would the other be? Juilliard would be the only other thing at that caliber. Yeah. Yep. So you went to Berklee School of Music, and then you had a career in sound engineering. Is that right? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Or not a fair assessment, a fair synopsis.
I basically spent the 90s in the recording studio and made probably 35 records or so in that period of time, maybe 40, but I think around 35. And I worked really hard. That life is a very, how do I say it? It's a very secluded life. Right. An artist comes in and they say, all right, guys, this is my sophomore effort. This record really is going to define my career. If I don't get this the best I can possibly be, I might lose my record contract. They might not pick me up for records 3, 4, and 5, And so there was a lot of pressure, and everybody came in saying, this is my passion. This is my life. You need to do it. And then for 3 months, we would work on 45 minutes of music, And then we'd be totally wiped out because I do 80 hours a week at that time. I was working 80 hours a week, 70 to 80. Mm-hmm. And then after those 3 weeks or 3 months were over, I'd be sick with something or whatever. And then the next artist would come in and say, guys, this record is the most important record to my career. And this is really the game changer for me. It has to be the best it can possibly be. And we'd spend another 3 months in working on 45 minutes of music. And after 10 years of that, you could play me a song, Adam, that should wreck me. You should play like Don't Give Up by Peter Gabriel. That should make you cry if you're a human. And I would just be like, something about love, right? Next,
Yeah.
and so I really kind of burned out on music because it's all I did. And I didn't listen to music for like 10 years afterwards.
Yeah. Did you get, or how do you, I think a lot of people in their careers probably have to figure out this answer for anything. So you go, I'm guessing you go into music if you, because you're passionate about it. You go to,
Yeah.
you don't go to Berkeley and then follow it with a career if you've, if you're not passionate at that point
Right.
about it. I don't, I, so maybe like Exile on Main Street, one of my favorite albums of all time. If I did nothing but focus on that album for 3 months, I would be so absolutely bored and disillusioned and jaded and hate the album. And I know, but there's always the passion, but then there's a professional responsibility. Like that's how you pay your bills. How do you stay, or say it was a terrible album? Maybe it wasn't a great album. Maybe it wasn't Exile on Main Street. Maybe it was some, shrieking person that you don't even understand their art, and you're paid to make it as good as you can. How do you work through some of that? Or did you have any of those experiences, or what was that feeling like?
I was very fortunate, and I worked with people I was fans of.
Okay. Did you have a say in that, or was that just lucky happens or fortunate happenstance?
When I was producing, I had a say. If I was just engineering, recording engineer, mixing, I didn't have a say. But you could always say no to the project if you didn't like the music. But
you can. Okay, I didn't know. Yeah. Okay.
Sure. And so, but there was there were a few. One producer, you'll see his music a lot on Instagram these days, Charlie Peacock. I was his recording engineer for a long time. We did a lot of records together. And sometimes just hanging with one producer just sort of leads you to the kind of records that they do.
Right.
And, but I will say that one thing I learned out of this that I did carry through, that I didn't burn out on, is that, sometimes even a very creative job like ball pythons, I know recently Chris Eaton said that he hates when people call it art. That was
that was on my show. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He says, I hate it when people call it art. It's not art. Well, in my view, it's manipulating color pattern and contrast, like you said.
Yeah.
And so in that case, I find that it is at least a creative outlet.
Right.
And sometimes in a creative outlet, things get daily. And in this business, things get incredibly daily. And sometimes even working on transcendent music at times can be very daily.
Yeah.
And so, I did learn how to handle that, how to be able to keep a creative spark going even when the work got hard.
Yeah.
So I bring that into ball pythons, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And there was the thing. And so I found myself like, my restaurant career, there was a time I opened, those of y'all into golf, I opened TPC Sawgrass, the new building there in April of 2007. And there were days I came to hate it. And I just had to like go for a walk, turn around and look at the building and go, do you know how many people would kill to work here and kill to wait on presidents or Tiger Woods or blah, 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 or, get paid to wear a bow tie and a suit and manage a world-class, wine cellar and menu. And I think anything can get that way. And I guess what it took for me, and that also comes back a little bit to the ball pythons. At the end of the day, it was the people and the camaraderie and the fun that we had. There were wonderful celebrities that I met. There were jerks that I met. There were wonderful locals that I met that made my day every day that I saw them. And there were locals that I wanted to strangle and throw into the lake every day. And I just had to kind of think that through. Where do you find yourself that way in ball pythons? Have you gotten to a point in time sometimes where you're just like, man, these things are have you gotten to that point yet where you're grumbling about getting into the snake room or anything yet?
No, but I do have those days where I wish I could just stay in bed. you know, and not and not have to go down and clean up poop and
Right.
clean the rats. But I will say though, just like what you're talking about, the thing that has surprised me the most about the ball python hobby are the friends I've made. Like, I had no idea, Adam, that I'd be making such great friendships
Yeah.
across all walks of life with you. And you know what else is cool? I mean, we're talking about my career stuff because it was sort of the plan to talk about those things, but nobody gives a shit what you do for a living.
That's right. Yeah. There's no, yeah, they don't
Isn't that
care.
great?
It is
Isn't that
great.
great?
It is great.
Because basically whatever hierarchy you're living in that, you know, has you as assistant to the assistant manager, no one gives a shit. And we all just are brought together by this love of animals. And what it does is and these animals in particular, what it does is it just it makes all the other things that tend to divide everybody. This is the most divisive time I can remember in my close to 60 years.
Sure.
And this, it just is, it's not there in the reptile hobby. I mean, yeah, we get our drama here and there, and you know, that's whatever. There's drama because we're people and people are messy. But I just love the friendships. Like, my best friends are ball python breeders now.
Yeah. I have, and I've told the story many times, but when I left the restaurant, there was this pretty big void. I was very happy to get away from it for a little while, and then I realized I missed the efforts of the massive undertaking of, you know, feeding 400 people and having 3 weddings going at once, and then planning to do it again tomorrow, and blah blah blah, and then, you know, the next weekend is the 4th of July and everything else, and I missed planning that and feeling like I was a big part of something. And things like Tinley do that for me. Getting ready to go out there does that for me. Chatting with you know, the Patreon daily or doing this show does that for me. And I agree with you. And the amazingly different walks of life, man, that walk through the halls. And I'm not even talking like the stereotypical, you know, holy cow, did you see that guy? I mean, the literal difference of people that would never seemingly, if you watch the news, ever hang out together in one place, having a blast, raising $100,000 for our united community and that kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely, I really enjoy that, and that aspect of it. And I'm glad that it's that's been an added bonus for you as well, man. I think that's real cool. Let's get really nerdy for a minute. We said we tie these things together. If you could tell somebody how to approach sound gear from an engineering standpoint, what would you tell them, and how far should they take it as far as this world of content creation or Instagram or live streaming or things like that to build their brand? It becomes part of it.
Yeah. So let me say this. If anyone's interested in this, I have an Instagram group we call the Reptile AV Club. And if you're interested in sound gear or camera gear and you want to make your reels better or maybe kick it up a notch or learn a few things, send me a DM on Instagram at BashCoder, and I'll add you to this group. But yes, I think I ask questions. Just like when you're selling a ball python, the best way to put the right snake in the right hands is to ask questions, right? And so I ask people questions. What are your goals? So my goals were to do these. I wanted to do live. I wanted to host people, and I wanted to be a guest. And so in order to do that, I made different choices than if I were to wanted to do vlogging content, for example. Right. So I think the first thing to ask is, what are your goals? Go ahead and have Colorfully Vulgar's in the AV Club. Matter of fact, he and I think if you're still down for it, buddy, we'll do a live this Saturday. But yeah, what I do is, ask people, what are your goals? Who do you want to emulate, or what kind of content you want to make? And from there, we talk about gear. But honestly, I think Brandon Nixon has a great new couple videos out. He put it out like 2 weeks ago on a weekend, episode 1 and episode 2. I think Brandon's in the chat, or he was.
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah. And these 2 videos show you the full spectrum of what you can do in terms of gear. His passion is to let people know that you can do this with a phone. Modern phones are so great that the cameras are great, the audio is great. You can get a lot done with your content with just a phone these days. It's pretty amazing. And Brandon talks about the Blackmagic camera app, which I 100% endorse as a great way to bring your photography to the next level in an iPhone. And I think he said it might be on Android now too, or coming to Android. But the gear is really secondary to the idea. And for me, I flailed around with ideas. I did product reviews. I did some joke reels. I did, different tips and tricks until I sort of got, I sort of felt a conviction about a certain set of circumstances that I wanted to talk about. And then all of a sudden the passion starts coming because I found my topic and I found my workflow and I found my style. And so what I tell everybody is get started right now with what you have.
Yeah. Just get started, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Just get started. Same thing you told me a year ago. Honestly, just get started and do it. And then as you start to critique yourself and look for opportunities to improve, then we start talking about gear.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Does that answer the question?
It does. Well, I don't know if it answers the question because we didn't talk any specific gear, but it does. No, I'm being difficult. It does answer the question. It's a great way to approach it. Do you, in that light then, if somebody asks you, hey, what's the setup? What's the interface you're using? What's like if we were to pick apart the screen that we see right now, is that something that you get into with people, or do you want to say, you know what, don't do like if somebody says to me, Adam, what guitar do you play? An amp. I'll tell you, it's I like a Les Paul Standard and I like to go into a Fender Supersonic. Doesn't mean I think you should go buy that tomorrow though. I think you should probably work up to it because that's not an inexpensive rig kind of thing. So is it that way, or are you cool picking that apart a little bit?
I recommend gear.
Okay.
Because, it's like I had a lot of years to figure out which mics I like. And I use the Rode Procaster microphone. It's similar, if people know, to it's their modern take, an inexpensive modern take on an Electro Voice RE20, which is sort of the go-to broadcast mic historically. It's the gold standard, but it's like $1,500,
right,
or something like that. It's $1,200-$1,500. This thing's like $300.
Yeah.
And it scratches all those itches for me. I've used $20,000 microphones before. And I really like what this does. I use Canon cameras, like I said, because, I'm the whitest of men and it helps me not look like I'm the Walking Dead. So I have a Canon R8. What I recommend to people, if you're getting into a mirrorless, get something like a Canon R50. I don't know if Brandon's still in the chat, but he knows the Sony side and he can make a recommendation. It's in the 750 range though. So this is why we say do as much as you can on your phone, because you get into $750, $800 to buy a camera just to do lives. That's why I ask at the beginning, what's your goal?
And fair enough. And in the same mindset, I would tell somebody, at least look, cameras help. Okay. They
Yes.
do. This one helps. It does help. But at least in music, buying the expensive gear ain't going to make your chops better. You still got to do the homework. You still got to woodshed.
Don't I know it?
Yeah. Right. And so, and I've been the recipient of these joke, sort of snide comments too, of people going, "Oh, the guy with the great gear doesn't know how to play." Well, I know how to play a little bit, and I happen to like my gear, and I've worked hard for it. So thank you. So like, if you want it and there's a hobby aspect to it, do it. But I think it all still comes down to content, just the same way music comes down to chops. Like you still gotta have the goods, and you still got to be able to bring it at the end of the day that way.
Love that. And so there's a point where it makes sense to, trade your Epiphone in for a Gibson.
Yeah.
And usually it's for when you can feel it. When you can feel the difference and you can hear the difference, and when you're ready for the differences, because they both have 6 strings. They both play in tune. They both have similar pickups.
Yep.
It's just that one's a cut above. And so, so that's, I think Rode gear is good to recommend to people. DJI gear is good to recommend to people. I love the Pocket 360 if you're doing vlogging content. And that's a lower price of entry. But ultimately, it's not like, I will tell you, if you get a camera, you will look better. Day one, you will. And unlike with the Gibson, other people,
you don't necessarily have to
will
shots,
see. You don't necessarily have, like, my gear to talent mishmash ratio is really high. I have way better gear than I should have in the music side.
I've been told that. I don't believe it, but I've been told that too.
Yeah, but that's okay. I worked hard for it too.
Right,
and so
exactly.
So I have it because I want it. But lighting is really important.
Before we go too far down the
Yes,
camera rabbit hole, which I do want to talk about lighting, because you have some interesting subtleties going on there too, and I don't know if it's camera or lighting or both.
Yeah.
As a performing musician, I come from the land of, if an SM58 don't handle it, it doesn't matter. That's it. An SM58 handles it, right? That's right. There's a brand name Shure to this day. They're still the stage standard, and I bought mine used in college in 1998, and I've stopped bringing a backup to gigs a decade and a half ago. Why? And this is not the same kind of microphone, and I don't mean brand. I mean can you tell us what the difference is between one of those microphones and one of these nifty canister looking things that we see all the podcasters using, and why they make a difference, and why Adam doesn't just plug a good old SM58 in right here?
Absolutely.
Okay, good, because I can't, but I know which one I need.
So there's really 2 kinds of microphones, just to simplify it. One is called a condenser microphone, and it's very sensitive, and it sucks for this kind of work. It's really great if you can control your conditions, and if you can put sound baffling all around the person so it doesn't hear the room. It will get all the detail in someone's voice. But the problem with it is it wants to hear everything. It's really sensitive, and it will hear your incubator, and it will, hear your AC go off and on. Okay. A dynamic mic, which is what an SM57 and an SM58 are less sensitive, but they're really designed to be used up close. And the closer you get, the farther you get, it doesn't sound as full. And the closer you get, the warmer it sounds and the more airy it sounds. And they're really designed to flatter the human voice. And they tend to reject a lot of noise. Like, I've got an incubator right over there, but you can't really hear it, Yeah. And so now condenser mics are great. But these dynamic mics that are meant for broadcast are designed to make your voice sound great on the radio.
So this is why I like having experts on, because I actually think I'm using a condenser mic, and I have a freezer over here that clicks on sometimes, but I do have to turn the fans off. And I notice naturally, the room has a bit of echo and reverb to it because there's no sound baffling. It's a hard floor,
right.
hard walls, and not much to absorb it. But I have liked how this sounds when I hear it. And I used to joke, this thing will pick up. I recorded, and I was recording in my garage one time, feeling a little bit inspired, doing a little slide thing with a song called "You Got the Silver." Speaking of a Stones Keith Richards song, and I played it back, and I'll be damned if this thing didn't pick up the crickets outside the garage in the woods.
That's right.
And it ended up being a cool feature. I was like, oh, that sounds like I'm sitting at a campfire doing this slide guitar thing. But in general, I wouldn't want that. But then again, I always, in my mind, even as much as I've played music, I've always thought, the barrel shaped ones are the, the condenser mics, and the, the typical ball ice cream cone looking things are dynamic mics, which that's not what you're saying, right?
Well, no, I mean, honestly, an SM50, like when I record electric guitars, I'll take an SM57 and put it right up on the speaker column.
Right on the grill. Yeah.
And it's loud because it's designed to handle that. You probably wouldn't put a condenser mic that close to a loud guitar amp.
No, you blow it away. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just, your room sounds nice, actually. The echo in your room, I can hear it a little bit. It sounds nice. You've got some tile ceilings, right? That helps with this.
No, it's sheetrock up there.
It's sheetrock. Okay.
Yeah.
But it sounds good. A lot of times when people are doing lives, they're in they're using a mic that picks up the whole room, and the room doesn't sound good. And oftentimes you can hear as much room as you can hear voice.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And that's where a dynamic mic helps. That's where these broadcast mics really help.
That's really gold to know. So that's the Rode dynamic, and it's a broadcasting mic.
Yeah. Now they also have a condenser mic that works great, but it hears a lot more stuff. So they have a condenser mic line called the NT1 Mark III, and that thing is great. And my wife uses it for her podcast, but she's got a very defined, I've set up kind of an acoustic area for her.
Yeah. And then I know this is getting really nerdy now. However, I use it. I was joking with somebody earlier today. I like things put in for myself, not for other people. I like things put in the terms of like, here's the simplest way, most direct way I can explain this to the dumbest person. And that's where I really thrive. That's how Steven got me to get this camera that I have. Here you go, Adam. This is what you need. Set it this way, turn it off and on. That's it. The audio interface, I use a Focusrite, and it's color coded. And from the dial, when you talk normal, if it starts to turn to orange, you're going to start to sound bad. I don't know what it all means. I know a little more about what it means than maybe the average Joe.
Yeah.
But it allows me to dial this in so that it's my voice that's instead of having it so loud that, like you say, it picks up every cricket or the AC or the freezer kicking on, or you get as much room as you do voice. I think that helps me. And these ear monitors, I notice you're using the AirPods for the monitors. I like to have the full like studio monitor feel, but that allows me to balance my voice so that I'm not screaming and I have this color flashing over here. If I ever see it red, I know I can move back, move forward kind of thing as well.
Exactly right. And that's true on all the Focusrite Scarlett interfaces. So they all have that. And I use Focusrite too. I use some other things. I use an Audient ID24 now because I'm experimenting with some things. I'm cheating. I use a compressor too.
Ooh, okay.
I have an audio compressor in line right now, so that if I talk quiet or if I talk louder, it's roughly the same volume.
Now that's a nice like normalizing especially for someone like me I'll like, you speak very measured and it's a very calming way. I tend to, I'll cackle out loud and probably make people like, go like that sometimes. Is there now this whole day and age of apps and bots and stuff, there's almost always like a imitation software. So there's like the classic actual analog compressor, but is there a software plugin that people could run, as part of their output as well that would do that for them? Or is there a compressor you can recommend?
Not really. It's like, and honestly, the compressor I'm using right now is cheating. It's a vintage compressor. It's really amazing. And they can't get them anymore. So I have stuff left over from my other stuff. So, let me get a link. People are asking about the AV Club.
Right.
Let me put a link to you in private chat. Would you mind putting it in the
I wouldn't mind at all. No.
Chat?
Yeah,
if I can get a link here on I can't get the link. So here's on Windows, I can't get the link. So if someone sends me a message to BashCoder, a private message, a DM on Instagram, I'll add you to the group.
Can you are you able to send the link to me on the phone and then I could post it? I don't know if we can do that with
I can get it from phone.
I didn't know if
you can just join from the link. Yeah.
Too much dead air or not. Let me see here. So audience, if you have questions on this stuff, we got time with Craig for a little while longer, and I do want to get to his camera segment as well, which I cut him off. He was just trying to start on that. So while we get these links worked out here,
I'll send it to you here in a second. But yeah, the Sony or Canon for cameras are great. You did ask about audio interface. Almost any audio interface will work. I definitely want one that has that red light that tells me if I'm distorting.
It's great, isn't it? I mean, I mean, part of it's old school from a mixing board would have the, I grew up watching the two little like lines shoot up and down, and they start at green and they go to yellow and then they go to red. It's too much. But I never had them in the knob, man. That's so nice having it in like right in the knob. It's a beautiful visual.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
So I sent you the link.
Yeah, I'm working on that one here.
So, but again, this is why I keep telling people to watch Brandon's video. It's not so much about the gear as much as it is, like, for instance, if I didn't have a compressor, I would just work the mic more. If I said loud, if I did something loud, I'd go back. If I said something quiet, I'd come up front. So, Chris Eaton did a video last week or week before that really ruffled a lot of feathers. He talked about it on your show, about how he really wants people to up their game on these lives.
Oh,
and I he was kind of mean to people. It's whatever, people didn't get the joke or whatever, but he was right. I think a lot of times on these lives, you're representing your brand when you're on a live. You're giving I don't know how to describe it other than that. You're representing your brand, and the best foot you can put forward, the better. But don't spend crazy money doing it. It's like someone said it earlier, that's sort of snake money we're talking, and there's an opportunity cost to getting into this stuff. Would you rather have that snake, or would you rather have the camera? And it honestly depends on what your goals are and how much does content feed into your business strategy. And for me, it was very core to my business strategy. I also kind of am good at this stuff because of my previous backgrounds. So it was less of a stretch for me to want to invest money in good gear. But I keep coming back to the content like you, because if you've got something to say if you've made mistakes, then you have something to teach.
Yeah. And
And
that's a great angle. Like a lot of people are like, why? I remember even when I was starting, what do you think you have to share? Why do you think you need a show? Well, because I'd like to learn and I'd like to join the community. And if I stumble around, I'll share me bumbling around because that'll be relatable. You know, like I think that that's a very important angle and a very important topic that you just said right there. I think that's a very valid point.
like, why do you have a show, Craig? You know, well, because I want to. You know,
yeah, because I can, and not everybody has to be a gatekeeper. You can not watch it if you don't want to.
Yeah, it's like you know, like some people are like, well, these young people, they come in and they start a podcast. Well, fuck right off.
Yeah, you know? If it's not good, nobody will watch it. And they'll go away. Don't worry, these things cure themselves.
I think at every level in the hobby, we have something to learn and we have something to teach.
Yeah.
And so I don't, the gatekeeping stuff is dumb. You know, sometimes you'll talk to people and they'll be like, well, if you weren't in when the Barkers were in, then you're not an OG and you just don't even know. You're just a COVID baby or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Well, screw that. You know, just with all due respect to the Barkers and everybody who I think you need to come into this with two things: a little bit of humility to recognize the people that have come before and what they've done, and to recognize the people that are where they are for a reason. Let's have some humility about that. And let's have a little hubris to say that maybe I have something to contribute to this hobby. Maybe I have something to share that is an angle that someone would relate to if I shared it. And maybe if someone else shared it, they wouldn't relate to. Does that make sense?
No, I think it makes great sense. And I think it's an uphill battle. I hope I'm never that guy. If I ever make somebody feel that way, please let me know. Genuinely, please let me know. That's not, I would say that about music. I would say that about, I used to have that discussion with chefs in the kitchen. Like you got to stop treating people that want this that way just because you've done this and they haven't. You've been at it 20 years. You think they were doing for 20 years? They were in elementary school. Like, stop it. Let them catch up, you know? And not only let them catch up, help them to catch up. But the very big thing is we have all heard at some point in our lives that whatever generation we are isn't as good as the generation that was before us. Right. But damn, if we don't get smarter, live longer, hopefully get happier. That's still my goal. I'm still optimistic to think I can do that. And quite frankly, make more money than those people that told me that, that I didn't know how to work or something, whatever it was. Yeah. So I'm always skeptical of those kinds of things. And at the end of the day, if it's not proprietary, it generally comes down to who can do it the best. And generally who can do it the best is the person that takes the best care of their customers and their community. Yeah. That's what I think. That's my life experience in a nutshell right there, to be really honest.
I agree. With you. I 100% agree.
Okay, so there's the AV Club link there, but I don't think it's clickable, and it's a little bit hard for, it's not particularly a mnemonic kind of thing where it's like avclub.com. So guys, afterwards, or if you're watching on the replay, what I'll do is I'll put it in the description right afterwards. You're gonna have to give me a couple minutes to edit it, but it'll be there. You can also reach Craig directly on DM. Craig, I wanted to get into the intricacies of some camera and lighting and whatnot, but I feel like we would probably go another 45 minutes, but maybe not. Yeah. Maybe, is there walk us through the lighting in your room. Is that a camera effect or the light on the back wall? Are your racks backlit? What's giving that glow to your racks back there?
Okay. So I have the ISO settings on this camera such that if these lights were off, this room is bright and all the lights are on in this room. But if I turn these lights off, I have one here and one here. If I turn them off, you would see just complete darkness and this light glow back there. If I turn these lights off, you would just see a black silhouette of me. That's how I have the camera set up. So it's actually bright in here, but I
Oh,
use
really?
light. Yeah, I use lighting as a foreground separator.
Okay. And do you
So
call, is that the focal point? Is that the aperture? I'm just throwing out camera words. Tell me when I hit it. What is that in the setting on the camera? Or is it multiple settings that you land on in that way?
it's multiple settings. It
Okay.
has to do, but and I'm really not a photographer. I don't know what I'm doing on video at all. You know, I went to music school, not cinema school, you know, and so I just got it to where I liked the look,
Okay.
you know,
All right.
and so I use, but the lighting is a foreground separator. If I step out here and turn off this light, that's what it is without that light. And so a lot of people go for this more dramatic look, which is totally fine. You
Yeah.
can have light here and a shadow here, and
Oh, I
this is
see.
a YouTube look. I mean, you'll see this look a lot. Sorry
Yeah.
for the dead air.
No, it's good. We're learning here because these are things I like picking up, like the look that the rack was backlit is kind of what, like, it looks almost like the vignette frame or effect that you can put on what's it called on iPhone
Photoshop
or
or
whatever.
something.
Yeah, exactly. But it does
Yeah.
that naturally. Now on iPhone, if people like the look like where you are really, really vivid in the forefront and in the back is still discernible, but it's out of focus. I've noticed on iPhone, I've messed and experimented a lot and come to like it, the portrait mode.
Portrait mode.
And the neat thing about portrait mode is after you take the picture, if you go to edit it, you can edit how in focus up front is versus the depth and the distance. Now you need a little bit of depth and distance between your subject and the background, but that's something you can accomplish right on an iPhone. And I'm sure there's some Android equivalent, particularly in Samsung, I'm sure. But that was something I found. And actually I learned that, I learned how to set my camera the way I was looking for it. I was like, who in the world has the audience, you don't know, Craig just popped in to the green room on his iPhone, and I was like, who in the world has the I was like, who just dive bombed our
That's why I was looking at my phone while you were talking.
Our back there. Yeah. So but those things can be accomplished. So I have a Canon as well, not the R series. Mine's the
M series.
Yeah, it's definitely M50.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Yeah, M50 Mark II is the one that I have.
It's a great camera.
It's like I say, Steven's I don't think he used these exact words, but he was like, it's the best camera for the dumbest people. I was like, fantastic, I'm going to crush it with this thing. And I love this camera. All right, so should I add your iPhone? And yeah, I know you're a sound guy, you have it appropriately muted and all that, so we don't go into
I think so.
You're my sound guy now. Let's give it a shot.
You might want to.
Nope, I gotta mute. I got to mute this one here. Okay. How about that?
Yep. So I'm going to show you the setup.
Oh, okay.
There are two lights here. One is brighter than the other. Now it's adjusting the exposure for this. But here's my screen.
Holy cow. What all do you have going on your screen there?
Oh, it's just an image. It's just you and some notes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then over here, I have a little snake cam. And this is an M series Canon, just like yours.
Okay.
With a light so that I can do that and show snakes.
Let me see here if I can make.
Sorry,
whoops.
I can only do one at a time.
There it is. I got it now. There we go. Okay. So that's where you show your snakes off over there.
Yep.
And do you have like a software to switch between, like, what's your primary camera, like to switch between primary cameras?
It's hardware. So it's this thing.
Is that the Rodecaster?
No, this is not the new Rode. There's a new Rode video switcher. This is by Blackmagic Designs.
Oh, okay.
And basically I can switch to that camera, and you see on the right now, we're over on snake cam land now, and I can switch here and I'm back to me. And I did this because I love being on Hair Down Fridays and shows like that where you show off your snakes.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be able to do it well. A10 Mini, that's right, Dan.
Okay. And I'm sorry, what's A10 Mini? That's that model?
Yep, that's the model.
All right. And what's something, I mean, I know we can all go Google it, but I'm in the middle of something right now. What's something like that go for?
A few hundred.
Okay. Like a few like 250 or a few like 450, 500?
I want to say 3 something.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head. But this is it. And the real look back here is that.
Oh, you are kicking, and that's crazy. All right. So this is both real time and with the camera setting, one of you looks like this, and good old iPhone gives us the real. Man, you know what it reminds me of is the old remember, I don't know about you growing up, but when you know, like CBS had these like really in-depth investigations, and they would have like the secret insider person that they couldn't show who it was, but they were interviewing that person. That's what this that kind of reminds me of like those kinds of tricks.
Go back to the larger view now, and you'll see this is the difference. Now I'm using the front cam, which is not a great camera, right, on the iPhone.
Right.
But, you know, you can see the difference in quality. Everything's in focus. Now on StreamYard, you can't go into cinema mode, or is that what it's called? You called it right, what the mode is, but it'll portrait mode will artificially blur the background.
Portrait mode will, but that's for a still camera. The video camera is called cinema mode, which is great to fit. Like, guys, if you want to just immediately make your reels a little more intriguing, and it's not just your face, if it's like an animal and you can get some depth in it and look sort of across the top of it, cinema mode is really, really great to film in and have fun with.
But now switch back to my other camera and look at things like skin tones and contrast.
So I'm saying, man, that's the picture. That's what you want to deal in on the old, you know, Tinder app right there. This is the one.
This is cam girl ready. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't link to my OnlyFans. Don't do that.
You didn't share that with me. I have to admit, I'm a little jealous now. Craig,
I hope that's the level of geek you wanted to go into.
We got it. Good. I think that's good. And if people want more, again, I'll put that AV Club link in the description. It's going to be a few minutes afterwards, but that will be under there.
Yeah.
Craig, where can people find you? And through all this, I'll use the context clues. You have a bunch of snake bins behind you. You like snakes a whole lot. Do you have any for sale? Do you have any where people can support you? Or are you vending anywhere? How can people check that stuff out?
Not currently. I don't have anything for sale. You can find me on Instagram. You can come follow me on Morph Market. It's BashCoder Reptiles on Morph Market. It's BashCoder on Instagram. If you go to YouTube, it's youtube.com/BashCoder. And you can check out our podcast called The Reptile Workshop, where we bring in some great people to share a lot of knowledge. I always thought, another thing I told you a year ago, I think you found the cheat code, because you get to go to school as you interview all these guests.
That's right.
And that's what I'm doing on this thing. I bring in great guests and we talk about the topical things on the Reptile Workshop. So you can check that out on YouTube, but it's basically Instagram and YouTube for me.
Very cool. For people that have hung out for almost 2 hours, supported us this whole way.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I broke my 90-minute rule. any breaking news that you want to break or share? Or do people just have to stick around and find out the good news and follow you later?
That's a good question.
Ooh, good tease. I like the
Yeah.
pause where you think about it, because now people realize maybe Adam isn't BSing. All right, so follow Craig. There's some exciting news coming that he'll break later when the time is right.
Yep.
Leave it
And
there.
the next episode of the Reptile Workshop, I'm not ready to say it yet, but you're some fantastic guests.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Very cool. Okay, cool. And then I can't think of a better way to wrap up the show. Remind everybody, it's down in the description, but if you'd like to make a gift to the Dr. Tom Harbin Scholarship Fund through the University of Auburn, that link is down in the description, and it is a way to ensure that your gift will grow over time. The endowment means that it'll always be there. Only the dividends and the interest and the growth on that initial investment are distributed. And in that way, that scholarship fund will last forever if they manage it properly, which I'm sure Auburn University knows how to manage a scholarship fund. So the link is down below. $1, $5, $500, $5,000, whatever you got. If you would like to contribute to that, it's down below. Craig, it's been a pleasure. I always say that I like meeting people in the industry, and I really had a great time hanging out with you this weekend. Continuing tonight, I was very, very concerned that if we got into too many good conversations in person, the show would be boring and I'd be out of gas. But here we are, me pulling the plug, admittedly, like I say, coming up on the second hour. So will you come back sometime 6 months, a year, and do another episode?
I would love to, but I should mention, because it's new for me, I always forget. I'm the co-host of Billy's My Channel, My Content now.
That was the news. I thought it was new. That was the breaking news. I didn't know what other breaking news you had. Jeez.
Yeah. So that's
up on breaking news.
Yeah. So really have a lot of fun. Billy and I are really close, and we talk a lot. And so I hope it translates. And he's always had an amazing show. And now we're just sort of getting the up and comer breeder alongside the legend to help give a little perspective and really enjoy it. So that's every Monday for me now.
Talk about being able to go to school and learn, man. What a great gig.
Doubt.
Congrats on that gig, man. Fantastic. Okay. Next time when you come back, we're going to actually talk some snakes. How about that?
Let's do it.
All right, Craig, it's been a pleasure. Stick around for just a minute. I got to give you a proper thanks in the green room and all that. Audience, thank you very much. I had a fruitful weekend of cultivating some relationships. I'm just now back from Tinley, so I have no idea what the upcoming schedule is, but I will let you know. Stay tuned on Instagram. Thank you all for the support. Craig, thank you again. And on that note, see everybody next week, same time, same place. Cheers, everybody. Bye.
Thanks.